Hola guapas. All right, all right, all right. I've moved on to another location. I've had more adventures. I am actually at my next destination. I always do try to do my recording as soon as I leave that destination so things are still fresh in my mind. But like I've been saying, I just forget every time I have an adventure. I'm like, I got to remember this. And I forget because I have so many adventures. So I'm just trying to do the best I can. And remember, I'm actually doing this as my memoir. So it's for me, it's a visual or an audio keepsake or remembering or scrapbook of my Southeast Asia adventures. And I'm hoping that if you're listening, it's because you're inspired or entertained or whatever it is. But this is kind of like a journal for me. And it's very cathartic and it's very liberating. And it's just a memory booster, a memory jogger. So that when I listen back to this, I'm like, oh yeah, I did that. Oh my gosh, I met that person. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. For the first time in 3 months, I actually was able to dry my hair because I'm in a place that has a hair dryer. Well, I know it doesn't look like it, but for me, it's just those little things. And I did my laundry. I have my laundry on my bed behind me, anything that didn't dry. And it was a washer and a dryer. So since probably when I was in Shanghai, China, this hotel has a free washer dryer. And it's like, yes, yes, yes. So my clothes were actually dried in a dryer. And that's like a Western thing. Most places hang it on the line to dry, but we Westerners were hooked on our dryers and it makes a difference. I don't know, it comes out so soft and all that. But so I've got some, wins going on. Anyway, I wanted to talk about my last location because it was one of my favorites, all-time favorites. You have to go on a ferry to get there, and the person I was staying with is like, look, this is a 2-hour ferry ride. If you got to go on the big ferry because there's so many accidents and the small ones aren't safe, and if the waves are big, you're gonna get seasick. So I had to plan my trip on getting out of Sanur, which started to grow on me, and then getting out of Bali, which I hated. It was like my least favorite place of my whole entire trip. I'm sorry to say, except Sanur. Sanur's in Bali, and that kind of redeemed it for me. But Ubud, I couldn't get out of there fast enough. I left a day early. And so I had to get a little ride down to the ferry boat, two-hour ferry ride to the Gili Islands. Now, as soon as I landed on this island, it's funny because you got to get a boat come out to get you from the ferry because the island is so small and there are no cars. There are horses with carts, horse-drawn carts. There are bicycles, and then just recently there's electric scooters, and a lot of people aren't happy about that. It was initially just supposed to be for businesses. Anyway, so basically it's a dream come true for me. The island, you can go around the island in probably, 45 minutes riding a bike. And I showed up, I just walked to my hotel because everything is super close on these like sandy dirt roads. And it's like, I don't know. It felt like heaven on earth. When I travel, I usually wear runners, and I was wearing runners, so I just peeled off my runners, peeled off my socks, and started walking, and then burnt the bottom of my feet because the ground was so hot. Sat on the beach while my room was getting ready. I went there once before on my way to Lombok, and I only stayed for 2 nights just to check it out. And then I went to Lombok, and I'm like, I'm going back there because I love it so much. So this was the second time I'd been here. I stayed at a different place. I stayed at Unzipped the first time, and it was great, except the place I was in, it was connected to another one with paper thin walls, no sleep. I could hear, it's like I was sharing the room. Luckily, the couple next to me was like an old married couple, so there was really nothing going on there, except they were talking to their family back at home till 1 a.m. So didn't like that. The people were awesome. The breakfast was great. So I stayed at Gili Air, and this, I'm telling you, the best hotel on the island. The people were amazing. I got to leave a 5-star review, and I'm like, normally I would shout out, the person that took care of you the best, but I can't in this situation because everybody was amazing. They were just so lovely and over the top helpful, and just there were so many people everywhere doing all the things. Really, 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 they know how to take care of their people and their hotel, and The food was fantastic. The breakfast was, oh, I could go on and on. Anyway, I stayed there for my whole entire stay. And I had like a daily routine. I would play paddle because they have one paddle court, like 7 months old. I got addicted to paddle because there's no tennis to be found. So every day I would play paddle. And there's a small little group of expats. And so usually they're like, I need a day rest in between. And I'm only here for a short period of time and I'm becoming addicted to paddle. So every day I'd post in the group, who wants to play today? Who wants to play today? And everyone's like, I need to recover on that. So I would, as I found people that like to play, I would try to like book them when I was playing with them. And then found this lovely couple from Sweden who was only there for a couple days, but they were really, really good. And they wanted to play as much as they could before they left. And so got in a couple games with them, but they were good because they were helping me because gosh darn it, if I can't not take that ball off the glass because of my tennis background, I got to hit it before it bounces every time. If I let it hit the glass, I'm toast. Anyway, it was so fun. The people there were so fantastic. And then I would snorkel every single day. Usually what I'd say is I'm going to go hang out with the turtles because every time I snorkeled, I would see turtles and they're just hanging out and feeding. It was so amazing just to go out in this water from the beach and you just hit a reef right away. Like there's a reef there. And it was so mind-blowing. You just swim to the reef and sad all at the same time. The mind-blowing was like all of these gorgeous, colorful, I was hanging out with Dory and Nemo, like all of and the turtles, and I'm trying to think of what the turtle's name was and I can't remember it. I just watched Finding Nemo because every evening they would have outdoor movies and Finding Nemo was one of them. And it was like, oh my gosh. So I would go hang out with the turtles, which was amazing. And the tropical fish, which was amazing, except the coral reef is all brown. So you have these fabulously colorful fish. The colors are just popping and they're the craziest looking fish you've ever seen. And they stand out because they're against a backdrop of nothingness, like a brownness, and it's really sad. Every once in a while, you'll see like a little, a bit of coral trying hard, like just a little bit of purple or a little bit of blue, but it's very rare. And I did a day of snorkeling where they take you to the different islands, and you could see that they are trying to regrow the coral there. But the shallow water where the coral is, and it's very shallow, is really warm. So that's the problem. Anyway, I had to learn how to swim properly in the coral because I took a couple hits when I first went in there, rookie mistakes. Like you gotta stay up again in the surface because if you go too low, you're gonna get scratched on the coral. So I got a ton of scratches, learned my lesson, but I just absolutely loved swimming with the turtles. And then we go to the gym. There's a couple of gyms on the island, which were fantastic. And then, of course, you got to go out for dinner because the restaurants there were insane. It's a small little island, but I had done all the research on the best restaurants to go to. And people, every time I met someone, we would exchange which restaurant we went to and which one was good. And I'd find another one and then a better one. And oh my gosh, the food there is just so, so good. And you could even just buy super cheap food just from a warung, like the local people said, and it would be amazing. Or you could specialize. Like one of my favorites was Mama's Pizza. So it was like pizza on the beach with sourdough crust. And oh my God, it was just so good. And then I found another favorite, which had, like a tuna poke bowl. I'm getting carried away because every time I ate somewhere, the food just got better and better and better. And there was like these just 5-star restaurants that are served out of people's houses. Just next level food. So I became obsessed with eating as much food as possible because I wanted to try all the restaurants, and also trying to make friends with the locals and doing different things to meet people. I didn't work there. I went in. There is a co-working place there, which is wonderful. It's called Working on Air for Gili Air. And it's just right on the beach. It's beautiful, but because of the time change and it was near the end of my vacation, I was not working. But that is a good way to meet people. I met people through paddle, which was wonderful. And then I also, how else did I, if I was looking to meet people, I would go do one of the local activities, Or I would go to the sports bar and sit at the bar and chat people up, because there's always, usually solo travelers, that's where they'll sit. And I became quite obsessed with the local called Radler, and it was Bingtang. It was like, oh, I can't remember the name of the beer, but it's like a Radler, and it was delicious. And so I would watch a movie on the beach, because there's a couple hotels that do that, watch a movie on the beach, and then have a little Radler just to finish off the evening. And it was so amazing. The best part was I could not figure this island out. I, for the life of me, couldn't get my bearings. I didn't know which way was up. I didn't know where my hotel was. And I had a map, I had a physical map, I had Google Maps, I had all the maps, and I just couldn't figure out how to get my bearings on this island. And I was trying to do it without Google, and then I get lost. So one night I'm like circling around, and it's pitch dark, and my bike does not have a light. Well, it actually has a light, but it doesn't work, of course, just like all the things. I finally got a bike with a bell that works, and I was so excited, and it had a light, but I just could not get, so the light's not working. Once the sun goes down, there's a couple of lights on the main roads, but not a lot. So you're going down back roads with potholes and no lights and trees hanging over. So I was getting hit in the face by trees, and then bugs flying into my face. And then the potholes, you got to try to keep it straight so that you don't go off track into the bushes, but you don't know where the road is. And so you get out your flashlight, and you're trying to hold the flashlight and drive and get all the bumps, and you don't want to wipe out into a mud puddle. That's the only thing. When it rains there, the mud puddle, like the road, just turns into mud, and you're fine. You can just go through it. But if you stop, or if you're going too slow, the worst thing is you're going to fall over, and then you're going to fall into the mud puddle. So my mission in life, just like to not get a Thai tattoo, road rash when I was in Thailand, was to not end up in a puddle. I got to keep my momentum going. Even if I couldn't see where I was going, I just had to like point my bike straight and go with hope on my side in the pitch dark, being like hammered by all these bugs. And it was just so much fun. And I remember one night I couldn't figure out how to get to where I wanted to go. And this one road was kind of under construction, and they had put like a shovel on the road. It was dark, to say like, hey, don't come down this road, maybe. And it was just a little side road, and I had to get off my bike and walk it, because it was like fresh sand. And then the guys were over there drinking their drinks or eating their dinner at night and dark, and I think they were the workers, and I felt so bad, because I'm like, it was kind of like, felt like walking in fresh cement, like they had leveled it out, and I'm like, oh my god. And then I got lost, and I came around again, and it was down that same street. I'm like, I'm not going down this road. And I saw this other guy do the same thing. He went down the road, so I'm like, oh, they'll forget about me, and then they'll be mad at him. So I went back, and I tried to find another way to get around, and I kept going by the paddle court, and I'm like, oh my god, the guy who works at the paddle court knows me. He's like, he's gonna see me for like the third time tonight. I just lost. So funny. Anyway, I did find my way home eventually, of course, because the island's so small. But what other things did I love about all the people that I met? When I post in the group, hey, we need one more player. I met this guy, Leo, from, I'm going to say he's from Denmark, and he was coming over from Bali, and I'd never met him before, and he's like, okay, I'll make it for 4:30, and he was still on the boat at 4:20, and then got into the port, and then grabbed the bike and booked it to the paddle court, and made it like 2 minutes late. It was so fun. Anyway, this guy's like, has been traveling his whole life, and it's funny because he always says he's homeless, and he's just changing his visa from Thailand to Indonesia, checking it out. I don't know. I'm trying to find out what he does for a living, and he's like, not much. And then he changes the subject. So he could be one of those guys that, they make Netflix shows about. But nonetheless, he was super amazing, and met him through paddle. And you just meet so many. I met one of the other local guys who I rented my snorkel from, and I'm now obsessed with snorkeling. So initially I was obsessed with surfing when I was traveling, but I realized that you got to practice it all the time to get better at it. But snorkeling, I could be good at snorkeling, because you just literally go in the water and put your head under the water, and you just see this whole mind-blowing new world. So now snorkeling is my jam. You got to get those shoes where you can walk on at the beginning, the shells to get in there. But oh my gosh, Gili Air is just heaven on earth. It is just so wonderful. There are no dogs on this island. There are only cats. And I asked my friend, why aren't there any dogs? And he said, because most of the island is Muslim. And they said in their religion, if a dog touches you, you have to wash that spot for 3 days. And so nobody wants to do that. So they're like, no dogs on this island, but cats are totally cool. You have the call to prayer all throughout the day and the evening. So you get used to that. A lot of the people that live there, they just go back to Lombok, which is the island. Like, it's a 5-minute, 10-minute boat ride. I met one of the ladies there who makes bracelets, and everybody comes from Lombok, works for the day on the island, and then goes home. It was just next level. And I'm trying to think of all the adventures. And I, like I said, God, there's so many things that I've seen and done. It's hard for me. I would need to do like every single day, tell you about the fun adventure that I had. But I had my bike, I had my snorkel gear, and my mission in life was to not get sunburnt. So I'd go out in the morning and do things, and then in the evening and during the day, I would find one of my favorite beach restaurants and just sit on the lounger, because you can order a smoothie or something like that and then sit for the day. So I would, if the sun went behind a cloud or anything like that, I would jump in, go snorkeling for a couple minutes and then come back out, and trying to put on as little amounts of sunscreen as possible and try to go out during the morning and the evening. So I actually did it. I managed to not get crispy burnt, which was anyway, I'm surprised, because when you go snorkeling, your butt sticks up and that's what's going to get burnt. And I didn't get burnt. So anyway, if you are headed to Indonesia, I'm going to highly recommend Gili Air. I didn't even want to tell you guys about this island because it is just such a gem. It is just like this little bit of paradise dropped in the middle. And the people are so nice. It was interesting because just as I was leaving, Ramadan was starting, and they're like, Heather, we're fasting all day. We're going to be grumpy. We had a good joke about it, but they're like, we're going to be grumpy. Don't talk to us till the sun goes down. Once the sun goes down, then they can break their fast, and they do that for 30 days. But I always say, the best experiences that I have are because of the people. And the people on this island, the people of Indonesia, are just so kind, so loving, so welcoming. They really, really they make it. They made my trip so amazing. Always smiling. When I would ride around the island, it's fun because there's, different hotels, different restaurants, and sometimes you got to get off and walk your bike because the sand is so deep you can't ride your bike through it. But as I was going around the whole island, you would always, always, always hear people singing to the music. The locals, they always had music playing, and they would be singing. They'd be singing every time you drive by them because they're just a happy bunch of people, and happy people sing. And they would always, when you drive by too, they'd always go, Miss, yes please. Are you hungry? Yes please. Yes please. Trying to get you into the restaurant because it's low season. And normally in high season, everything is packed, but low season, they're like, come to my restaurant, come to my restaurant. But I definitely, had a routine. Like I said, I did paddle, the gym, snorkeling, and went to my favorite places to hang out. And I watched a movie in the evening. Went to the sports bar, met some new people, just had ice cream, or we call it gelato. Oh, so good. Fresh fish, of course. And they have a fresh catch every single day. But this was one of my favorite spots. And I was always traveling, looking for a spot. And as soon as I came here for the 2 days, I think it was, oh my gosh. I'm like, I have got to come back. And I did. And met some cool new people, especially on my trip. I met this absolutely lovely English couple who was just traveling the world trying to decide where they want to live their lives. But they were so delightful and so fun and so kind. Oh, and they actually took a picture of me swimming with the turtle, or took a video. So hopefully they'll send me that and I can share it with you guys. But definitely the people make it, so it makes your trip. So even, and not just the locals, but the other people that you meet who are also on that journey. And every morning I'd go have breakfast and they would meet all the other people from the hotel who are staying there, some Canadians, some, just from all over the world, and catch up on how your day was the other day and what you did in your favorite restaurants. And so fun. But what I did notice is that sometimes, you want to be left alone and you don't want to talk to anybody. And then other times you do want to make friends and talk to people. And so I always had a game plan for what I would do when I felt like I wanted to make new friends or I wanted to be social. Because that is always one of the things that people struggle with when they're solo traveling. It's like, oh, today I want to be super social and I want to make new friends or I want to hang out with people. And then how do you do that? How do you build your team of your backup of people that you want to hang out with? But only when you want to, though, not 24/7, not, it's a fine line, right? I met this one guy when I was leaving there, the day I was leaving, and he'd been solo traveling, and he just like unloaded on me because he'd tell he hadn't talked to anybody in a while. And I'm like, whoa, okay, there you go, my friend. And I know that I'm like that too. Sometimes when somebody's like, how you doing? And you're just like, you go off because nobody ever asked you how you're doing. It's funny because when you're with other people, you never notice a solo traveler. But when you do meet a couple, when one of them is social, you'll make new friends. Like when I was on Gili Island for the first time, I met an Aussie couple, I met an English couple, and then on the snorkeling, I met another English couple. And then when I was on there, went back to the island, I met another Aussie couple. And so it just takes that one person of the couple to start a conversation. And then it's a great way to meet people. Because when I was going over the first time, I met the Aussie couple on the ferry going over, and then we ended up connecting and going for dinner and all that kind of fun stuff. So, oh my gosh, I could talk about this place forever because it was just so amazing. And if you're looking for a fun adventure with no cars and bicycles, feet in the sand, face in the sun, swimming with the turtles, then this is your place. I will definitely go back. It's on the top of my list now. I can't decide which one I like better. Was the Thai island or the Indonesian island? It's a toss-up, and I gotta think about it in my brain. And maybe I don't have to have a favorite. Maybe I can love them both equally for different reasons. Anyway, there you go. There's my share. Amazing trip, and I'm on to my next location. I'm here already having great adventures, a little break in my day, so I thought I would record this, and I'll let you know how it goes. As always, thank you for listening. Always, always, always love yourself first, and have an amazing day full of really cool adventures.